let's discuss some more blending techniques. So in this case, we have a small feature pushed into a surface and some very tiny radii. Let's see, these are 1 millimeter maybe. This is just a small feature. Shoot, it could be in a piece of jewelry or something being 1 millimeter radius, but let's talk about how to blend this. So one technique that you could use, since these are so small fillets, is to simply use the round tool to blend these. And it will give you a blended surface. You can see here it's got history. I've edited the radii and made them approximately what I want. The issue with this, as far as it being a Class A surface, is the number of control vertices in the blended areas. Okay. In this case, we've got a fillet here that's got way too many spans and is way too complex for what's required. We need Bezier surfaces for these. Now, if someone wants to just have a quick look at what blending this might look like, this may be fine. But if you notice a couple of things, see how this tangent line kind of bulges out? You're going to notice that. If we do check our tangency, we do have tangency on all of these. So the system did achieve, what we asked it to. Oh, we get a little tiny error there, 0.10 degree. And my issue with that would be to come in here and start trying to move a single CV to affect that. Wow, there's so many control vertices. And if we look here, you can start to get zigzag patterns in these. And that's the kind of stuff that makes these surfaces not Class A. Okay, they're not controlled. So we need to approach this in a little bit different way since we're doing Class A surfacing. So I would do this by setting up just my default blends first. So I put the radii that I want in, circular in this case. In this case I use default ends, so it's case specific. So I don't want to edge align over here or extend, but on this one I've used edge align at both ends just because that gives me a surface that's got the proper structure and layout so that I can use the ball corner tool. If I use default here, I don't get an intersection point, and we can't use the ball corner that we're going to try to use to solve these blends. So if we did extend, it's too long on this side. I would like this control vertices oriented as they'll be used around this corner. So to do that, I'm going to use edge align on this edge here. Okay, now we get a structure that kind of follows this shape. Okay, so similar techniques on all of those to decide if they are extend or edge align, okay, or default. Okay, and each one is a little bit different. So now we could come in and using our ball corner, and I'm going to set it up, like this before I use it. So I have explicit control on it, 5 by 5. I've got my pivot curve length, which is my fourth side length control at 1. You select the 3 surfaces that you want to blend between. You then select the 4th surface that you want that extra edge to be on and hit go. And it constructs a surface. Okay? Now, a couple of things about this surface. If you look, see how its control vertices structure is a little peculiar? This looks good. This looks pretty good. But this has a lot of zigzagging in it. This kind of goes down. There's just some things wrong with that surface. Let's check its continuity. So it has continuity on all of its sides except for this one, and it's got a very slight continuity issue. Okay, let's try to blend this next one down. So I'll query edit this just to get my history up. Next, 1, 2, 3. Blend the 4th side down here. Pick those 2 corners. So it says it has potentially a corner here, here, or up here. You pick the ones that you want, and it puts transition in. Okay. We look at the control vertices. This is too wide in my opinion, so I might bring this to 0.7. That looks pretty good. You could make it a little bigger or smaller. Maybe we go to 0.5. Okay, and that looks decent. Okay, it's a nice structure. Evaluate, check for tangency, and look at these edges. Oops. and we have a slight issue here. So we could keep blending these like that. But I wanted to make a fundamental point here. These fillets are all tangent because the radii are so tiny. Curvature is a little, I don't want to say silly to try and achieve, but on a 1 millimeter radius curvature, oh boy. These are discussions that individual studios have, and sometimes they agree that under a certain radius size, they won't be curvature. A lot of studios or companies that I've been at, that size is around 2 millimeters. Below that, they don't make things curvature. So we just want good Bezier data, that's easy to modify in the future, not these high order, not some high order NURBs like we saw on our basic set of surfaces. Well, this surface that is the fillet that starts, that surface is starting as degree 5 in this direction, but it's a simple arc, right? Constant radius. Well, that's not really as simple as I think it could be, okay? But it's a basic radius, G1 circular, 0.6 rad, okay? Nothing weird. So what I want to do is create that surface with a little different control, and I'll explain why as we move forward. This is the same fillet radius, G1, 0.6, looks fine. We'll get this set to the same thing as the other one, just so you don't think that's having any effect here. So all I've done is turned explicit control on and told it to be degree 3 in the arc direction. So it's as simple as it can be, and it's still 0.6, okay, 0.5, it's 0.001 off, it's okay. Okay, and all of the rest are also degree 6, degree 3, okay? So, delete my locators. Let's create the same ball corner, okay, and we had this set to 1 at our default. Between this surface, this fillet, and this fillet, it asks us for our 4th side, okay, and it gives us a patch. So, let's do a quick check of our continuity. 1, 2, 3, and 4 sides, and we're tangent everywhere, so we had a slight error on that one edge before. And if we look now, look at the control vertices structure in this surface. Nice and uniform, looks pretty good. Let's check that to this surface. So this is Bezier, but notice the structure, okay? So now if we toggle back and forth between those, and I'm just doing that with the left mouse button, one click, you can see the difference in CV structures. This is what we want. This has some distortion, and if you start to look at this edge, it's distorted. This edge has some torsion in it. This is nice and flowing, okay? And it's doing that because it has a little bit different, a little bit simpler slabs underneath to start its blend. Let's go to ball corner and do this bottom, okay, and grab this, saying, hey, you've got some extra solutions down here. Well, I want this and this to be the corners that it uses, okay? Again, this is too wide. Let's make that 0.5. Let's look at our CV structure. Looks nice. Let's check our continuity. 1, 2, 3, 4, and we look good, okay? So query edit that to bring up the history. Next, I'll build this side. Pick the 2 corners that I want. Has a little issue in this corner. We'll come back and fix that. Let's blend this top one. And we want 1. Check our control vertices. They look good. Evaluate. Check our tangency. And that looks good. Now what happened down here? This looks a little strange to me. I expected it to solve this quite easily. So let's set all of these to the same. Okay, that looks a bit weird now. All right, still not working. I'm going to undo that and simply try to pick this in a different order. Okay, and go. And it makes it. Okay, sometimes a little hit or miss. Now we've got 0.5 blend, eval, check our tangency, and we've done it. So now we've made Bezier blends on all those corners. Now, last we could try to make this transition. doing the same thing. So let's use ball corner. This gets a little bit more complicated, right? Pick those. I want this to be my fourth side, and it creates something pretty crazy. Okay, so it doesn't work in all cases. So I'm just going to undo that. And let's concentrate on this surface right here, and I'll show you how I would blend that. And this is where a really simple technique of aligning CVs and being selective about the shapes of your edges can really help you out. So if I just shade these so you can get an idea of what the radii are doing in this corner, okay, I have to decide how that's going to work out, right? How is that transition going to happen in this corner? So we need 4 boundaries to make this corner, all right? Well, I know I want this radius to go around this corner, okay? So we could just draw that in. So if I use just a quick marker, and we'll do a little drawing here. What I want to do is make a transition that goes from here to there. All right. I need something that goes from here to here and something that goes from here to there. That's going to make my 4 sides. Okay. Now, this area is going to be my most difficult area because of this very sharp angle in here. Okay. That's an acute angle. That's going to cause me some issues. Okay, so what I want to do is have this edge and this edge continuous. Okay, that's going to help me solve a lot of problems here. If I try to make that edge like this, perpendicular, we're going to have all kinds of tangency issues right there. Okay, so I'll show you the technique I would use to blend this. Well, first thing we need is our blend curve tools, okay? And I'm going to turn off the shading here because we don't need it. So layer, new, and I'm just going to create a new layer here called curves. And now our curves will go on there. I'm going to create a transition from that blend edge, not the trim, the blend edge. At that point right there, let's make it continuous this way, degree 3, and tangent. Then I'm going to have it come to this edge. I want to make it that way, perpendicular, degree 1. Okay, so now I get a nice degree 3 shape around that corner. Now here's what I need to do. Those control vertices, just like we did in other demos, those control vertices for that curve need to sit on these hulls. Okay, because I'm going to trim convert this surface, and I want these CVs to be as close to the surface or close to representing the surface as I can. So what we'll do here is I'll just use my edit tool, and I'm going to extend that until it appears like that CV is on that hull. Okay, now let's take this point, and this might take a couple passes here, and I'll pull this guy back, but I need to move this point along over here. All right, so I'm kind of going to line it up to where that point is and grab this and bring this back. Okay, I don't want a zigzag in this, and I want those CVs. Notice that my viewing is critical here because I need to look down these things, so I'm using the right mouse button to twist, and I need those control vertices to sit as close as possible on that edge. And this is important, okay? You need to make those appear like they are spot on that edge. The better you are here, the more accurate you're going to be when we check continuity, okay? So there we have one curve. I'll turn this edge off now, okay? Next, I need a curve that goes from this edge. Again, we're going to stick with degree 3, G1, because these are small radii. And now we'll go to that point, G1, in line. Okay, that's good for now. And then we need our fourth side, which is going to go from this edge G1, degree 3 to this edge. Okay. Here, degree 1, and pointing in that direction. Okay, now, we again have, and I'll turn my CVs off just to be sure that it's clear. Now I have a set of holes for that and a set of CVs on the curve. Again, those need to be positioned where the surface's structure is. So I'll turn my blend points on. Let's take this point and let's stretch him back, and take this point, stretch him out. Okay, and again, viewing is critical, so I'm going to look down this edge, okay, and I want to get that as close to that as I can. We'll look over here. That one's pretty close, but zoom in, look gun sight down my edge. Looks pretty good. Okay, now, the only last thing that I would do before I move on is check the relationship of these control vertices, because we know that our hull structure on our surface, when it's done, is going to have to go from here to here and from here to here. Okay, so I want those to be kind of nice and in relation to that one and that one. Okay, that point to me looks like it's too far this way. So if I take these CVs, well, I'll use my blend curve. And I'm going to edit that point and slide this back just a little bit so that this angle seems a little nicer. Okay, now we don't need these anymore. Okay, or this, or this. Okay, so now this surface I'm going to trim convert. So edit, trim convert. I'm going to do it with projection and normal, and I will trim convert this surface to here. Okay. Keep originals. Now, if we tried to trim convert this surface to here, you may get this to work, okay? But I want to show you something specifically here that hopefully you find interesting. So I'm now going to create a surface square, okay? And I'm going to ask just for G0 for now, and I'm going to go on that trim converted edge here, edge, and there. Gives me a structure, right? So I know that at this end, I want tangent, and at boundary 3, I want tangent. Okay. Boundary 1, I've got collinear turned on, and boundary 3, we need collinear turned on. Okay. Now, next, let's take all of our curves, let's stash them over here, and then let's take our corners and our corner and put it there, just so we have a little clarity here. Okay. Now, this surface has a set of holes, and if we look down that surface, we'll see that since we lined this up collinear, this control vertex is sitting right on that hull, right? So is this control vertex. It's sitting right on that hull. We need the same orientation of control vertices on this surface between that CV and that CV, right? How can we do that? Well, I'm just going to use some simple CV movement tools, okay? I'm going to move one at a time. I can't change this because it's already on the right hull, so I'm going to look at it from this end, and I'm just going to slide that CV down, and we've got a little too high a mouse sensitivity. We'll slide him down till he sits on that hull, okay? All right. Now we need to do the same thing here. Slide this CV this way until it sits on this hull, okay? Now I'm just going to simply do a little bit of tuning in the middle of the surface to make things look a little nicer, okay? We can do some trimming right now. All right. So I could surface edit, 3D trimming, trim this surface, oops, trim this surface, this edge here, okay. We've got a trim converted slab up here, I think. Nope, we turned him off. So let's trim that again, surface edit, edit, 3D trim, this surface to this edge, keep it back here, okay. Now, when I look at these control vertices, right, I see a little strangeness right here. So what I'm going to do is just stretch this along its tangency so that these look similar. And this one will do the same thing. Okay? Now, let's project our last boundary on. So we have a slab here. We need to project that boundary on. Oops. And now we can check our continuity. 1, 2, 3, 4. We achieve continuity in this case by simply controlling the layout of these CVs in the middle by putting them specifically on the hulls of these surfaces. Okay? That'll work almost every time. All right? And that basic technique of aligning CVs is a fundamental to how these surfaces need to be built. Okay? So let's give that a try.